Do you find your books differently received in Newfoundland compared to the rest of Canada? Do readers react differently? Do they read differently?
I was in a reading once in Manitoba, in Winnipeg, and this woman came up to me and she said, Michael, I just wanted to hand you this. And she handed me about 3 sheets of paper. And on it were all the sentences in the book that she loved. She just, typed them all out and handed them to me. And I read these pages and I thought it was hilarious. Just these little excerpts. It's not the narrative story itself, not the content of the predicament of the character, just the sentences. And for a lark, I just read that at the reading. I read her sentences, and it got a terrific response. Now I think if I had done that reading in Newfoundland, I think people would have thought, he's being a bit tongue-in-cheek here, and can't he just tell us the story of the the so-and-so, and we want to hear those things. But outside of Newfoundland, just for them, the shape of the sentence was something that they were interested in.
Your sentences then have been shaped by Newfoundland rhythms and intonations and vocabulary. Are you very conscious of that? Do you consult the Newfoundland Dictionary of English constantly or frequently?
I did look at that. I mean, that dictionary is a fantastic book. It's an incredible book of the Newfoundland idiom and the origins of words and the vernacular of how people speak. Other writers have done work from the dictionary much more than I have. Thinking of Mary Dalton, a poet who has done a lot of great things with that book. But it has, what that book did was it sort of said these things are worthwhile. The way people talk is a worthwhile thing. And I remember visiting Marishim, which is a little island off of Placentia Bay. It was resettled in the 50s, so nobody lives there anymore, except for a couple of people who go there in the summertime. And I was there talking to this man who was just there for the day, and I knew that the folk singer Anita Best was from Marishim. And this man happened to be about the same age as her, so I said, "You don't happen to know Anita Best, do you?" And he said, "Oh yeah, me and Anita, we're the one age." Now that's an example there. Instead of saying we're the same age, he said we're the one age. So when you hear things like that, we're the one age. Or this summer I was working in Newfoundland, and the weather wasn't very good, and I had to get some firewood from this guy. And I went up into his shed and I said, I'm happy to see that you're home, because he's often in the woods. He said, well, in weather like this, I'm busy around the door. So busy around the door, like that expression. So he works close to home because of the weather. Mm-hmm. So I'm just writing those things down because you can't invent that kind of language. And that's not something that he's invented. That's a saying that he learned from his family. And I find all that exciting and also encouraged by a book like the Dictionary of Newfoundland.
Mm-hmm. I've consulted it, and I find that consulting even a single word gives you perhaps as many as 2 or 3 pages on the screen, which are a history in themselves. They're extraordinary.
This summer I built a little fence around the house in Newfoundland, and it's made of trees that have been limbed and small narrow trees for the palings. And I was asking an older guy, a gentleman, who someone said, he might be able to get you that lumber. I asked him about the palings, and he said, "Oh, you want some starrigans?" Now, the word starrigan, which means a slender pole, is something I'd only ever seen in the Newfoundland Dictionary. It was one of those words I'd looked up. I'd never heard anybody ever say it. Mm. And then this older gentleman had said it, and my knees buckled from this. He wasn't saying it to be pretentious or anything. He was just saying it because it's one of the words he uses. Mm-hmm. "Oh, you want some starrigans?" Well, there was the printed word coming to life for the first time. In front of me. It was great.
Yeah. Do you think that sort of language, that sort of rhythm and style and unique speech is threatened by television, by the incursion of the internet and all the media?
I'm sure it is. I mean, I hear younger people you know, there was that thing in the, you know, the 90s of the California Valley Girl, you know, intonation, and you know, kids pick up on that. They have that, but I don't know. I'm sure it's the same thing in England too. Any small coastal island place that has a lot of different bays that are isolated from one another will pick up different accents. I mean, there's dozens of different accents in Newfoundland. Like, people think there's just one Newfoundland accent, but there's, you know, dozens of them. And I'm sure that has some effect. But at the same time, like my partner, who's not from Newfoundland, when she comes there in the summer with me, and she hears my son's friends, and I can tell, you know, which one is from Bay Roberts and which one is from Old Perlican, because I'm used to the accents.
Mm-hmm.
But she can't understand a word they're saying. And it surprises me. And, you know, it's a hard accent, but they still have it. So I don't know if it gets erased when they get older, you know, teenagers or in their 20s, if it gets scrubbed out. But so far it seems to still be there.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good, because it gives a unique voice to Newfoundland, or unique voices to Newfoundland, which I think is one of the great appeals to readers on the mainland.